Hola, muy buenas a todos. In this video, I'm going to touch upon certain vocabulary and expressions that you can use when you go to a restaurant or when you go to a bar. That's something that is quite useful, basically, for those visiting Spain or even living here, and it's something that is usually very interesting for my students. So I'm going to share a document with you, and we'll go through, as I said, different expressions of that. So, just to start, I've got here expresiones relacionadas con bar, restaurante. The difference between bar and restaurant, or the line that separates them, like a cafeteria, bar, restaurante, no? So a cafe, a bar, and a restaurant. In Spain, that line is not as clear as in the UK. It's not that thing that if you go to somewhere where they sell like a coffee shop and you're gonna find just sweets and coffees and teas, and then you go to a bar for alcoholic drinks, and then you go to a restaurant for food. That's more or less how I experience that in the UK broadly. In Spain, that distinction doesn't exist. At least it doesn't exist to that level. So you may have some cafeterias, that's cafeteria, pasteleria, that specializes in sweets and coffees, but generally what we refer to most of the establishments, even if they sell coffees or they sell alcohol, and they usually sell some food, as bar or bares. So a bar is open from the morning till late at night, and in the morning, it may serve breakfasts. They may be sweet or sour, and you can have their coffees and things like that. But you can also have beers and wines through the day, usually with some food. The idea of food separated, sour food, I'm talking about pinchos or tapas or raciones, which are bigger portions than tapas. You can have that usually all through the day. There is not a different idea of going for a drink and going for food. Many of those bares, but not all of them, will offer like a proper restaurant service at meal times, offering a menú del día, menu of the day, and at dinner times, offering a carta for dinner. Not all of them do that, though. Anyway, that could be another topic, exploring what the menú del día is all about, but that's not what we're going to focus on today. So, the first expression that I've got here is tomar algo. And that can mean a few things. To have something to drink or to eat, because as I said, drinking and eating are not things that are done on their own. It's usually something that would go together. Or to go out or to meet up. So tomar algo is, yes, to have something. It can be either food or drink, but generally in the context of socializing. So we can see here a few examples. A ver cuándo quedamos a tomar algo. So that meaning, let's see when we meet up to have something. So having something and meeting up, like meeting up to have something, is kind of linked there, the context. Vienes a tomar algo. So are you coming to have something? Again, it's a way to ask for that socializing company that takes place in the bar when you're saying this kind of sentence. And ¿quieres tomar algo? This may be a sentence, do you want to have something, when you're already at the bar and they're asking if you want to have something. The waiter may ask you this, for example, or anybody that is treating you to something that is next to you paying for that set of drinks may ask you this, ¿quieres tomar algo? So, as I said, this depends a bit on the context, but it's very widely used. And this goes for coffees, for alcoholic drinks, and for foods like snacks. It's not for a proper full meal. Normally, you couldn't use it in that context. However, you could. The waiter asks you, ¿qué quieres tomar? What do you want to have? You may say a paella, una paella. You could say that. But yes, we are focusing in this study context here. And then we're going to talk about drinks now. So 4 different types of drinks, let's say, that you can have. And we would use the verb tomar. Obviously, tomar, I'm giving it to you here as an infinitive. You need to conjugate this to make it relevant to the situation. So we've got tomar una copa, you know, and that can be broadly translated as to have a drink, a combined alcoholic drink. A highball that I think is referred to in English. However, copa means like glass, like the kind of wine glasses that you use. Is also champagne glasses, another kind of. So copa, well, or in the context of sports, a cup, like what you win. So that's what copa means. But in this context, tomar una copa could refer usually to a combined alcoholic drink. So like rum with some sort of fizzy drink or something like that, or vodka with something, or gin and tonic. Those kind of things could be una copa, unless you specify that it's una copa de vino. Generally, when they say una copa, it could be something like a combined alcoholic drink. But you can refer to that in different ways. This is probably the most formal way of referring to that, or even posh, depending on where you are. Another way of saying this, of referring to the same kind of drink, is un Cuba Libre, which originally was rum with Coca-Cola, but now it's used, it's an expression used to refer to any alcoholic combined drink. And if you pay attention to this word, Cuba Libre can be separated in Cuba and Libre, meaning free Cuba. And that originates, this expression is said to originate from the time of the Cuban Independence War against Spain. That would finish in 1898 with Cuba becoming independent. And Cuba had the support of the United States. And it could be then under the placed under the influence of the United States from there onwards till Fidel Castro came to power in 1959. But at that point, it's said that when the American soldiers were in the end of the 19th century in Cuba fighting that war, they had brought over the Coca-Cola or a cola sort of beverage, and they started to combining with something that was local to Cuba, which was the rum. That is, you know, a drink that is made out of the cane of sugar. I said, you probably know what rum is. And they used to say por Cuba Libre, for free Cuba, which is what they were fighting for, together with the Cubans. And then now it's not used in that sense, and actually it took me a while. Like I used this word without figuring out what the meaning was in it for a while, and I think most people probably do. Un cubata, that's the same way as Cuba Libre. You only use this in Spain. It came from the idea of ending some words in ata, like bocadillo, bocata, even pantalón, pantaca, was something that apparently a comedian introduced, somebody called Forges. I don't know much about Forges himself, but apparently he set a trend of this, and it stuck in some words, like Cuba Libre, Cubata. It's just it's just a transformation of the word, and it means the same, but it's basically a bit more informal. And then this one is not as universal, as widespread through Spain as these other two. Un cacharro, un cacharrín, un cachi. Again, this can refer to any combined alcoholic drink, unless you say un cacharro de cerveza or of some other drink. Then in that case, it will be something else. The same as with copa. You cannot do that with those ones though. So yes, usually this is used in Asturias and in some areas of Andalusia. And it's usually, in my experience, this is served in a big cider glass. So it's quite a big, it's quite a big drink. Although, but it can also be served in a highball glass. These ones, cacharrín and cachi, they are basically variations of this one, cacharro. But as I said, they won't understand this in most of Spain. So those three ones are a safer alternative. Then, when we are referring to having beers, tomar una cerveza o tomar unas cervezas, there are a few things you can say with regards to that. We don't usually ask for pints of beer as such. We don't use pint as a measure for anything really. And unless there is something that comes in a bottle, particularly as a pint, or if you go to some maybe British or Irish place that does the actual thing of serving pints, what you could find is cañas. If you're getting it from the tap, I'm talking. So this one, caña, corto, and cañón, you get those ones from the tap. And these ones, botellín, quinto, and tercio, those are bottles, right? So, caña. What's a caña? It's hard to say, and actually pretty much depends on the restaurant. I could tell you it is something like 20 centiliters of beer, of draft beer, but it depends. It depends on the place, because in some places are bigger and in some places are smaller. So you just have to try it out. Un corto, how much is that? Again, it depends, because it's something that is smaller than the caña, but it depends on how big is the caña that will sort of set the pattern to how big is the corto. And again, un cañón, I don't know if they do this everywhere though. That's like a bigger, like a double caña, like a bigger version of the caña. And again, how big is that? It depends on what kind of caña they are serving. Then we've got botellín. A botellín is a beer bottle. And within that, we've got normally two sizes. I mean, you could probably find half a liter as well. But normally we've got a fifth of a liter, so quinto, 20 centiliters, and a third of a bottle, tercio, 33 centiliters. Then we come to wine, tomar un vino. To have a glass of wine, you can also say, tomar un vino. If you say tomar un vino, like a wine, that can be, yes, that's a measure that is understood as a glass of wine. They are not going to give you a bottle if you say tomar un vino. Then when it comes to a glass, they can serve it to you in a wine glass or in a regular glass, which we would call vaso, which is the one you use just for tap water, un vaso de vino. So they can serve it in both. Normally this is considered more fancy to have it in a wine glass, but in many places they will also serve it to you. I actually like it more when it's served in a normal kind of glass that you could use at home. How much is that? Again, it depends. There is no standard measure as such. And you could also have un corto de vino, actually, the same as you had with beer, which could be less than what they could put in the vaso de vino or copa de vino. And then you can also have, obviously you can have una botella de vino. We can add that as well, obviously. Una botella de vino. And una jarra de vino, a jar of wine. And when you're asking for the menu in some places, they will serve you the wine in the jar with the menú del día. Okay, and then cider. You may not come across cider unless you come to the north of Spain, and I'm thinking about the Asturian cider here, not Basque cider. I don't know how the vocabulary that they could use in the Basque country for this. So we normally refers to having some ciders in plural, not one cider. Tomar una sidra. Normally it's tomar unas sidras, as implying that you're gonna have a few. It's something that you could, cider is a bit more of a sociable drink. It's not that these ones are not sociable. You could go and have wine on your own. You could go and have a beer on your own. Obviously, you could go and have a bottle of cider on your own, but it's not that common. And the thing is that the cider, you need to have the full bottle. You cannot ask for a glass of cider. There is no such a thing as a glass of cider. And we refer to whenever they are serving you a portion of it as un culín, which is the way we name the bottom of the cider glass, or if it's a few of them, unos culinos. And the cider is poured in a specific way escanciada, as we would say in Asturias. But we can go on to that whenever we touch on Asturian gastronomy. So hopefully this has been useful and has given you some ideas about how to order some stuff in the bar. Again, please do ask me questions if you have any. And thanks.